Okay, beautiful. Let's admit all. We are good to go. Look at that. So here we are in the pandemic era, figuring out the Facebook. Okay, sorry for the delay. We're only 9 minutes late. That's usually good for us. We have the Dave and Dave special meeting today. Something near and dear to our heart, with my father and I being past presidents of the association formerly known as the Greater Las Vegas Association of Realtors, now the LVR. I can see all of you, beautiful faces. We do things a little bit differently here at the Nest. We've only invited the people we're supporting. Nothing against the people who are not on this show. We know these people intimately. We know who they are personally. We know their values. We're aligned with who they are as people first. As you know, my father and I, we're all about relationships and the quality of the person. We could always figure out the performance and where we go as long as we have respect and love for each other. And I can easily say that I've served in some capacity or know in some capacity every single person on this call, which is why we do it the way we do it. So let's set the table. Pops, before I begin, is there anything you'd like to say and throw us completely off track?
That's my job, Dave. The first thing I want to say is that half of you know the commitment of being on the board because you've been on the board. For those of you who haven't, Dave and I were known as presidents for our meetings lasting the whole day. And the reason we were known for that is because we wanted everyone to hear their word, and when their decision was made, it was made on everyone. So your commitment to this position you're running for is a all-day event. And I don't think anything drove me more crazy than to hear a board of director or someone get up and say, I have a 1 o'clock appointment, so I'm gonna have to leave the board meeting. So there is a time commitment, and I hope all of you realize it's a once a month, all day, and then other things. And if you have that commitment, you'll do well.
Yeah, we would let you keep your phone. Sorry, Janet, I had to break the top a little bit, even though you're not here. I know you miss me. So in the red corner, my top left, I don't know where you guys are seeing it. Actually, it's right next to me. The consigliere to the Nest, and also to a couple other places on here. Just to give him full PTSD on his former position, we have David B. Sanders, David Barry, also known as DBS. We have you on here, buddy, just for your good looks, but just in case someone starts to break antitrust laws or something goes crazy off, you're here to put us all in line.
Speaking of which, there are several items on today's agenda that may run issues with antitrust regulations and antitrust policies. Kindly remember the association's policy: do not mention any vendor specifically by name or require any kind of boycott, and use general terms at all times.
So we'll listen to that with one ear as usual and do whatever we want with the other. So,
typical board meeting.
We also have Georgia Papora, who shamelessly plugging the Nest. She runs the Summerlin office and she just crushes it, but she also just happens to be the MLS chair of 2020. So we have Georgia here to also throw in a different perspective, especially how the board works with the MLS. Anything you'd like to say, Ms. Papora?
No, I mean, I think you put it really well. The relationship between the two boards, the parent company with the subsidiary, is that relationship is huge on the success of both boards. So, I'm glad to be here to support you guys as well as ask a few questions.
Beautiful. So we're gonna do something a little bit different before we start this mock board of director meeting. I want each of you to take turns. I'll call your name out. and say who you are, how much you weigh, and who you're voting for in the election. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just, I'd like you to say is who you are, and then maybe come up with something that you're going to be most passionate about continuing on or seeing if you're elected. So I'm going to go fairly from my top all the way down in order. So unfortunately or fortunately, Shane, depending upon how you look at it, you're first on the list. So
That might be a good thing.
okay.
Before I start, I really appreciate both of you and everybody right here doing this. This is a great opportunity for people to get a little experience. So I never had any experience, so this will be my first experience. My name is Shane Nguyen. I've been doing real estate for 23 years. I'm a broker owner of First Party Realty for 14 years. Just like any agents, I'm in the trenches every day. So I understand there are many challenges that we see. And what I'm passionate about is just, I want to make sure that there are a lot of things that the board do that are good. And a lot of the agents don't know about it. I mean, a lot. And in fact, a lot of agents don't know what we do up there. So I would love to see if we can communicate that to the agents, see how amazing jobs. And then also there are things that agents that do know what we do and they're not satisfied. I like to hear their voice, what they want us to do as a board, just as, overall. So in my opinion, just like what Brandon said, I think communication with the membership is very, very important. So that's my passion, communication on both sides, to the members and the members to the boards.
Thank you, Shane. Up next, Miss Christina Chipman.
Good morning, everybody. Christina Chipman here. I am also running for a 2021 position as a director on the board. I think that I will mirror a lot of what Shane just talked about. My number one passion that I hope to see next year in the boardroom is the communication to the members and bringing those members' ideas and thoughts and voices into the room and expressing those voices to that board so that when decisions are being made, it can't be misconstrued as having somebody's specific agenda, that we really are working on behalf of a large membership that right now feels unheard and invisible. So empowering our members to get more involved, empowering our members to take more advantage of the opportunities that are already available to them and provided to them through the association, and bringing them in so that they can be a part of the voice and the future of the industry. I feel wholeheartedly that the majority of our members want the same thing for our future. We want to protect our career. We want to protect our industry. We want to protect the homeowners' rights and property owners' rights in Las Vegas. And so if we can come together and, find a way to get to our final destination that we all hope and want to be at, I think that, the more minds, the merrier. And that's our job as directors, is coming into those rooms and bringing those ideas in and leaving our egos and our ideas out the door.
Beautiful. Mr. Brandon Roberts.
Very good. Well, if I'd known it'd just take running for office to get on the Dave and Dave show, I'd have done a long time ago. So I appreciate it. And I just want you guys to know, I'd support every single one of you guys as well on the board. I think you guys would be awesome choices, and I'd love to serve with every one of you. So good pick, Dave and Dave. And it's almost a flashback too, because I sat on Dave's board when he was president, junior, and Sanders was the attorney there. And Georgia, I believe you were even represented the MLS at that time. So it's almost like old times. But I've been doing real estate almost 24 years. I've been a broker for 18 of those, and I've been in Vegas since 2012. Love this town, love this industry. And I think the three main platforms, or the three things that I would really like a year to focus on, would be obviously communication. Yeah, it's always a big deal with the members. Professionalism in our industry. A few years back, NAR put out a danger report that said that was one of the major things that could be the downfall of our industry, is the professionalism. And then the third thing, which is kind of a broad subject, a lot of ways to look at it, would be data sharing. And so again, thank you for your time and look forward to discussing the topics.
Thank you, Brandon. Mr. Keith Kelly.
Let me make sure I get myself unmuted here again. Thanks to, I know you call it the Dave and Dave, but it should be the Dave and Dave show. So really appreciate the opportunity to be able to be here with all of you. I think you've got a great cadre of great candidates that you're having everyone listen to and come up with. So I've been a realtor since 1986. I've been involved in leadership, and I understand the positions and the time commitment that it takes, and that you have to be prepared for the board meetings. I see sometimes that the members of the board aren't really prepared when they get to the meeting, and I think that's important to happen. But what I'd really like to stress is that we open our committees. I think that people support what they help create. And if we can open up the committees and get the members involved so that they really begin to see what the association is all about from the ground up. And then they bring the committee ideas to the board of directors. And the board of directors looks at what the committees are proposing. I don't think that it's up to the board of directors to do committee work. And I think we'll get into that in just a little bit with some of your other questions. But I look at expanding the opportunities for all of the members get involved and communicate that way with the board. So again, thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Mr. Andy Hattada.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Dave and Dave. It's an honor to be here with a lot of these fellow, how can I put it, teammates or running mates. We have a lot of talent on the table. And you know what? What I came to realize is that running is hard, and being on the board just to get to that position is very hard. I mean, I had to personally step outside my comfort zone, outside my wheelhouse to do this campaigning. And, you know, putting myself out there and commingling our personal lives has been hard. But, you know, nothing worthwhile comes easy. And what I was taught along the way, some way, shape, or form, is that to have a voice, you need a channel to have that voice. And this is it. And that's the reason why I'm trying to become and get reelected as a director. Some of the things that motivated me when I first became a director was, you know, we were facing a lot of the disruptors, and you know, we had to combat that. And marketing was my background, and I'm passionate about that. So, you know, I was really hot to trot, and really I wanted to share with the world who we are as realtors. And I believe we came a long way since then. But today things have changed, and the reason that I am looking to be reelected is the number one thing is COVID-19, and trying to stay ahead of the changes that have come. And a lot of the changes have, I hate to say, hurt our industry. And I have concerns that the worst has yet to come. And we have to stay ahead of this change. We have to protect Nevada as a collective group of all realtors here. Starting with us, helping voice that for the realtors. And communication is key. I've heard it from the members before, and I'll kind of end with this because I'm taking some time here. There's been this disconnect with communication through all levels. And I think there's been a lot of problems or small dramas that didn't need to be, because a lot of people didn't understand why decisions were made on the board level. And I think explaining that decisions on why they were made and how we came up with that decision would clarify everything. Kind of like a parent parenting a kid. It's kind of like, you can't do this, but this is why. And I think that would, you know, help us all work together, starting with our members, starting with the MLS committee, starting with all the other committees. When we make votes and say yes or no on motions, it's a yes or no, and all they get is a yes or no. And when it's a no, it hurts. But it doesn't hurt too bad if they understand the why, and here's what you can do to convince everyone to change it, or what's better for our industry. So I think we can be better at that. And I thought I'd end there. Thank you.
Thanks, Randy. I was going to throw a clock on all of you, but since you're all getting your time, I'm going to, rather than doing closing round, we'll just do it right here. Keep going, Yared. What are you passionate about? Get off of mute.
I'm unmuting myself. Hi, Dave. So I'm Yared. I'm running for Las Vegas Treasurer. I have been in real estate for 15 years. I have been a broker now for the last 2 years. So that has definitely been a change of scene for me. And I've learned quite a lot in the last 2 years. And one of the things that I am passionate about when it comes to our association is looking towards the future and where we see ourselves as a membership and where our industry is going. And we all talk about disruptors and what we're going to do and how we're going to change that. And, you know, sitting on the board and being part of that conversation and helping make those decisions is something that I really do care about, because this is the industry that I've chose to work in, to, you know, build my life around. And so I want to see it last for another 1,000 years.
Great. Thank you. Stephanie Graham.
Good morning. Hope all is well. Thank you for this platform, Dave, and nice seeing you, Mr. David. I almost feel I'm in an impromptu meeting. I'm Stephanie Grant, and of course, I am running for re-election. I am a current director, been on the board for the last year and a half. Oh, last year and 8 months, finishing up my second year of a two-year term, and I am seeking re-election. So of course, a lot of people are asking why you want to run again. It's so much time and you know, away from everything else. My passion, again, starting out, it never even on my goal or my focus to be a board member. There was no interest of it for me. So I feel like I'm an example here, because going through the leadership programs and being involved with the committees with the association, other people noticed the leadership trait that I knew I had, but others noticed it more and would approach me and say, hey, have you ever thought about running the board? You should run for the board. And I was like, you know, and then after several more people would ask, I said, okay, hey, why not? Why not throw my name in there and see what happens? So I mainly am an example, and I hope I am an example for others that, you know, if they were thinking about it or haven't even thought about it, they see me doing it and they can say, well, hey, if Steph is doing it, why not try? I know there's leaders in everyone, and sometimes it just takes someone else to you know, pull out of them for them to take the next step. I feel that we need to continue to seek out new leaders, up and coming fresh thinkers, to be able to replace ourselves in the future. You know, I keep saying it, I don't plan on being here forever. I hope one day to be chilling on an island, but we want to make sure that the up and coming leaders that are out there going to replace us will have the same focus, the same vision, the same drive to move our association forward. So that's pretty much my passion. Obviously, you know, taking professionalism to the next step, making sure we continue to be a diverse board with diverse thinkings and conversations. And, you know, it would be great moving forward. So thank you again for this opportunity. And I hope to, you know, be on for another 2 years.
Beautiful. All right, let's jump into the board-like setting. For all intents and purposes,
Dave, you forgot Ellie.
David, I think you forgot somebody.
did I? Oh, Ellie, I'm sorry. You know
I
what?
thought you were just saving the best for last. Little did I know you were just ignoring me.
Someone came on and off, and it messed up my square. I was going one by one.
I know. I
Sorry,
understand.
Ellie. Come on in.
That's okay. That's okay. I thank you both for having me on here. I appreciate it. I'm with a great group of people, and I'm really thrilled to be here. My passion and the reason I'm running for board of directors is I am passionate about the business. I've been in Las Vegas for 15 years. I've been in the business for about 20. I love what we do. I love the business. I love Las Vegas. And I want to just make sure that we continue to be a great organization. And a big part of it is professionalism. And a big part of the reason I want to be on the board, and many of you have said this already, is I want to be a voice for the people in the field. I list homes. I work with buyers. I'm very active in our real estate community. And I just think that I can be a voice of reason for all of us who are out there fighting the fight on a daily basis. And, I've sat in a few board meetings on Zoom, and I saw what I thought was a lot of silliness and just bickering and nonsense, really. And I hope I can be the voice of reason. I've been a negotiator all my life. I hope I can get along with everybody. I think I can. But again, mostly I'm passionate about bringing the board, the members' voice to the board. Again, thank you for having me. I'm real excited about this, everybody.
Thank you, Ellie. Before we jump into discussion items, I want to, instead of asking you a rhetorical question, I want to answer it for you. There is that personal agenda versus the greater good. And I believe, rather than asking you, are you going to vote from your own conscience, or are you going to vote what's best for your business? I know you're all going to answer whether you believe what you're going to answer for the greater good, but I can personally vouch for all of you. That's why you're here. And I think that's the kind of people you need on a board, the ones where you can look across the table and say, I don't agree with you on this issue, but I respect you. And I know you're coming from a position of what's best, and let's just agree to disagree on this, but it's not going to be an alliance or some nonsense agreement outside of the room that is driving the decisions. So let's just get that out of the way. First discussion item on today's agenda. Let's pretend I'm president. Let's pretend Brandon's president-elect. Let's pretend my dad is past president. Let's pretend Ured is the treasurer. Let's pretend Dave is back in his own personal prison. And let's pretend everyone else is the board of directors, okay? So I'm going to be reading from the agenda and saying, one of the issues I think we need to talk about as president is a consumer-facing MLS. Now, you'd say to me, Dave, we have one. I was just on it this morning looking at it. Now, what is a consumer-facing MLS? It's an alternative. It's a local alternative to what we already have out there. Dave, don't lose your mind. We have Zillow, we have Realtor.com, we have Redfin, we have multiple syndicators out there. There's been this never-ending debate. Turn off Zillow, turn off this, turn off that. People don't realize that it comes down to the broker. It's not a decision by any of you as the association. So it's something that's really not your fault. Brokers are never going to turn it off because the public wants it and the agents use it. So the reality is that's off the table. And let's just say, well, may the best person, best company win. We pushed really hard. I know Brandon was on that board, Georgia was, to get this consumer-facing MLS, but here it is. It's not being marketed. It still needs a lot of money and tweaks to it. Would you be in support of allocating $250,000 to $500,000 a year coming from the MLS dues increase a couple of years towards making this a local ground game alternative for the agents of Las Vegas? And if you would, what are some ideas you would put around it? Keith.
So I see where you're coming from, and as a broker, it is the brokers that really are going to benefit from this, or be an advantage or a disadvantage for this. And it's the agents that work for them that seem to have this voice. But we have Georgia, who is chair of the MLS committee. I think a lot of this could be issues that are coming from the MLS. And we, as a board of directors, can sit and knock this around, but the MLS committee has their fingers in that. They go to different meetings throughout the year in regards to the MLS and what's happening with some of the bigger MLSs all across the country. They get these ideas and they knock about it. And I think that we should let the MLS take a look at this with broker input. We talk about upstream and you have to look at where the franchises are, independents like you and I, where we're at that, and let the MLS kind of come forward with it, and then we'll look at what they suggest. Oh, that's where I'm coming from.
Good answer. You're right.
So I was actually just speaking about this with somebody yesterday, and my understanding that Houston already has done this. The association in Houston has already done this, and they have a few years ago. So my suggestion actually was maybe getting together and seeing what it is that they did and the process that they went through, or how we can learn from them to kind of do that for ourselves. Doesn't mean that maybe, again, we're never going to get rid of the big Z, right? So maybe it doesn't mean that we limit the data that we're giving them, so that we can contain the majority of our data, and then kind of like, go back to our front facing website as opposed to the big Z as the go-to for our association and our and
we have a Dave Sanders. He's turning red, so let's have him come in real quick. He's turning your red. So
again, please speak in generalities regarding the various different competitors in that market. Identifying specific individuals could potentially be construed as an antitrust violation, and this is on Facebook Live.
Okay. So in generality, so maybe taking their
I'm just kidding.
So maybe limiting the data that we give to the other people versus the data that we keep for ourselves, and kind of promoting that front-facing website for ourselves, and maybe looking into things like that and getting together with that other association to see how they were able to actually be, do this for themselves and learn from them and get input. And that's my idea.
I think it's a great idea. Rather than reinventing the wheel, go to them, see, it's probably a lot easier today than it was 8-10 years ago when they've started. So excellent answer. Brandon, then Randy.
Okay, I think you're Ed spot on there. And we don't even have to go as far as Houston. We can go right next door to Utah that has done this too. They have a website called utahrealestate.com, and they pretty much dominate their market. And a lot of the third-party consumer websites don't compete up there. And it's not because they limit the amount of data they give them. I don't think we want to get into a thing where we're trying to make their product worse. I think we just need to do better. And I think it's important that we do work alongside the MLS, but we do move forward this. And I would be in favor, as long as the budget permitted it, to putting that kind of money towards it. Because I don't think that as an agent, a single agent, you can compete with all the outside forces that are coming to take more and more of our market share. And we can't even do it on a broker level. And part of being part of an association is being able to work and look out for the best interest of our industry. And I think that would be something we put towards that. It won't happen overnight. I know Salt Lake started doing it, or Utah started doing it almost 24 years ago. So it's a process to get there, but I think we need to work towards that.
Love it. And that's why I brought up the money, because you got a great new marketing company, great new brand. That was part of the big plan, right, from the beginning. Now, all you need is search LasVegasRealtor.com for the most local, up-to-date, relevant information in Las Vegas. You don't have to win nationally. You just got to win right here. I love it,
Right.
Brandon.
And when the consumer believes in our site, that's when we win.
Randy.
So this is a very passionate topic for me. This is one of the reasons, besides branding our realtors itself, reasons why I became a director. And, it's kind of like the casinos. The consumers that we work with are getting older, and the new consumers that's coming into the market expect a forward-facing website and technology at their fingertips. A lot of people think that because of what happened in the past, that we've already missed the boat. I don't believe that. I just think that we have to work smarter And to me, $250,000 is just a drop in the bucket as far as an investment for what we get in return, as long as we can afford it. To me, it's not enough. To me, that's where all of our power lies. To me, that's how we're going to get consumers to come and see realtors ourselves. It starts with clicks, and then it comes to us. And right now, as practitioners in the field, we all know, what do our buyers do when they identify a home? They go check a computer estimate on another website, and then hopefully they call their realtor. And so we're second to that. We need to be first to that. We need to be the ones giving them the information, limited information, just enough so that they rely on us as a realtor. And then we are going to be the source of information rather than have a third party come in and basically middleman us. So I'm all for it. I think 250 is not enough as long as we can afford it. And I think the ROI on that is going to be 1,000-fold.
Love it. And 96% of all transactions are still happening with a realtor. But so this is long game. But you're right. I mean, if I have a buddy and I'm being lazy, I'm on my couch watching TV and they want to see a house, I go on realtor.com and I just share it. Boom, text it right to them and I'm done. It needs to be that easy for us, right? Where the stuff we look on the back end of the MLS goes right to the front and just take out some co-ops and stuff like that. But the more you can share, the better. Christina, you're up, then back to your Ed. And Shane.
Just out of respect for everybody's time, I'm not going to repeat everything everyone already said. I'm 100% in agreement with much of what I've already heard. But one thing I just wanted to add to it is, it seems like it's this huge monster we're trying to tackle, but really, if you think back down to the smallest part of it, the consumer is not that confident in these other sites they're going to. The feedback I hear regularly from our consumers is they don't trust that data to begin with, but they go there because it's all they know. They don't have another option, or they don't think there's another option. So again, if it goes back to just not trying to make them worse, if we do better at showing that we're here, come to us, that's really all we're trying to tackle. Just driving the traffic back to us, not getting them away from them. They don't want to go there. From what I hear, the consumers don't go there thinking this is for sure what the values are. They know that those numbers are a huge swing from one end to the other. So I don't think it's as difficult to get them to come back to us. It's just giving them that vehicle to get there.
I could not agree more. I mean, even then, if I'm searching for a California house, yes, it's more convenient for me to go to these 2 places or 3 places because I don't have access. If the San Diego Board of Realtors had an access to the MLS or limited, I'd be on that in 3 seconds, right? I'd rather have that information. Shane, then back to your Ed, then Ellie, sorry, your Ed. I just want to get everybody in.
So I agree with Randy. 250,000 is probably not even close enough. And I was just running a number real roughly. So let's say if every agent, there's 13,000, 14 real estate agents, they all chip in 100. We have 140,000, right? 140.
Right?
Hold on. 100 and no, we have. Help Randy, help my math.
Hey, you're Ed. Could you help him as treasurer?
So
Calculator.
So hold on. So we have isn't it true? We have 1,400,000. If I'm right? 1,400,000.
1.5.
Let's say we do build this site, NevadaRealtor.com, and it costs us $500,000. With the 700,000 left, I'm just throwing numbers out there. We can do so much in terms of marketing. If you notice, everybody who has interest in real estate, Redfin will show up. One company will show up, another company will show up in YouTube. Same thing with your social media, whatever your interest is. If you look into real estate, you're thinking about selling and buying, just any type of search. When you search on Google, again, your Facebook, your Instagram will pop up. Those ads will pop up. And believe it or not, these ads are very affordable. They're very affordable at this moment. And so if we put a lot of effort into that over years, maybe a year, 2, 3, 4 years, doesn't matter. As long as we keep putting effort into that. Not only that, but what if we get every real estate agent to mention, guys, don't forget to go to nevadarealtor.com. Every one of us constantly telling that eventually our consumer will buy into it. Eventually more people will buy into it. So I think as long as we are on the same page and we agreed on, I don't know how easy it is to collect 100 from every agent, but that's a good start. That would be $1,400,000 to work on this project.
And what's ironic is that's what we did. The MLS raised the dues a couple of years ago with the idea of funneling it into having reserves and also this front-facing website and all the marketing that goes around it. So dues have gone up in order to this. And I joke, you know, I'm a year or two away from saying to my father, let's call Brandon, let's call all the other brokers and just do it ourselves. Because this is to me the biggest issue that we got. Now, some other questions around this while I got you guys talking. Listing agents, obviously, they got a listing and they get shown, because some people say, well, it doesn't really help buyers agents. I think that's short-sighted. I think you get a listing, you should be able, the way it is right now is great. You get your own listing, but there's opportunities for marketing on there. Builders can market their local houses, local companies can market, you know, it doesn't have to be marketing generated by agents. I think that's when we get in trouble. So you have any, on top of the question, a little bit more detailed in, what do you think it should look like? Keith, then you're right.
So
wait. Ellie, I skipped
Ellie,
you.
let Ellie. Yeah, go
Ellie,
ahead.
sorry.
Okay. Well, I was really going to agree with everybody, but Christina made a good point. We don't so much have to beat up everybody else. We just have to get something that's better than them, and we can get out there. It's the future, and we can't ignore it. And as far as raising the dues, you know, look, I'd rather pay no dues, but the fact of the matter is, it takes money to run a business, and I think a lot of our agents and realtors, they need to pay more money to take this more seriously. And like Shane said, $100, it's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket to add to $1.5 million. It's just not a lot, and we do need it. And I think that it's the future. We have to get on with it already.
And there's some opportunities to reallocate funds as well. So there's some waste in there, but great point. You're Red, then Keith. Sorry. You've been patiently waiting, you're Ed. Do you want to add something in?
No, what I wanted to say was that, yes, getting them back to our site is one of the steps, but I think we forget that one of the reasons that the consumer went to the other pages was because it was so easy for them. It's like that these people had it figured out when it went out, because the consumer can go on these pages and they can go to the other sites, and everything is just so simple for them to find everything or anything that they're looking for. And when they go on our sites, I think it just becomes a little bit more complicated. And so it's not as simple for somebody to just log in. So I think, you know, dumbifying the sites, if you will, then that is also another thing that we need to take into consideration, and making it so user friendly that they're going to want to use our site as opposed to the others.
Beautiful. Keith.
So we as brokers for a long period of time wanted to protect our information, our data, and our data was our listings, our sales, etc. Well, now that information is so readily available that they can go out anywhere and get this. What we have to remember is the realtor is the center of the transaction. And what we mean by that is statistics after statistics from NAR, from CRS, from all of the different national association membership has shown that the consumer goes to these sites to get the information. It's the realtor in the local area that can negotiate, that can understand what the value of the property is. They know the areas, and that consumer is going to come to us to look for that information to help them write the offer, understand the property. And that's what we have to start selling. And as far as getting our members to invest $100, we have the ability through the legislation to do a lot. We ask our members to invest $50 into their PAC to work with legislation to do those things. We can't get members to invest $50 legislatively. So trying to get them to invest, I think, would be very difficult. Raising the fees, raising the dues, that's the other way to do it. But to get them to voluntarily raise that, hey, we have difficulty getting them to invest in the PAC.
Thanks.
And we're doing this as a board of directors. I would make a motion that we invest $500,000 a year as a board into this and work simultaneously with the MLS. So that's my motion. I'm looking.
We got a motion on the table. Do we have a second? All right, and we've beat this horse to death. So let's get a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Nay. All right. So you're right, right? The data is free. It's just a matter of having our smiling faces next to it or not. Set it free. It's not the information age. It's the dissemination of information phase. That's what we need to be there as realtors. All right, we're going to segue. Pops, I'm going to bring you in on this one. This is kind of a tenuous, interesting thing. We have a lot of disengaged members that when they do get engaged, they want a voice. And they're members paying a dues paying member, but they don't understand the issues and they haven't done any transactions. How do you balance the people in the room, right? The room where it happens, right? Little Hamilton fans, in the room where it happens, right? All the leadership, the people who have sat through every single seminar, who've listened to every single MLS meeting, everything, versus the member you want to engage, but may not have all of the information, may be unintentionally ignorant to the situation. Who drives the association? The board of directors or the members? Pops, you first.
Thank you. Thank you for that great question. Unfortunately, the members aren't going to like my answer, but I believe it's the board of directors. And the reason I believe that is that you have elected these board of directors to represent you. And just letting people, let's say, like even the previous question, they're going to say, oh my God, the dues are going up. I don't want to go there. Without having the information, it's impossible to have every single member make a decision. Now, do I believe we should get their input before we do anything? Absolutely, because there's members out there that are not on the board that are well informed. I believe that the final decision has to be the board of directors, and I believe that the board of directors sit on the board cannot have personal agendas and vote in their agenda, but for the good of our fellow realtor. That's the key. If your vote, you could walk out there saying, I voted everything that I voted for, I believe would help my fellow realtor, right or wrong, you're sitting in the right seat. So that's my answer to your question.
All right, before we continue on, we had a question and I want to, thank you, Brandon, for answering. I don't want you guys getting pigeonholed as people that want dues increases. We already have a dues increase that happened 3 years ago. This is an allocation of funds. So just so that this doesn't become a Trump Biden thing where like, gotcha, then your opponents are saying you want to raise the dues. Absolutely not. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that we have a huge budget already. Where do we want to allocate the funds? To another past something party with hockey puck chicken that costs 50 grand, or do we want to put it towards this? That's all we're saying. I just wanted to clarify that for all of you so you don't get put in a bad spot. Okay. Stephanie, I'm not going to let you be silent when you have such an amazing voice there. You're on my left bottom corner. So I'm going to
Yes,
give you a little
sir.
bit of a little bit of a middle. Do you think we need some strategic consultation from some people outside of the board potentially, and then goes through the board of directors? How do you think these decisions should be made?
Depending on what topics.
Great question. Let's say we were talking about this topic we just talked about with the front-facing website. Would you want to, because this is what's happened in the past, George and I were in this MLS, right? You have some people in the room who don't want to do this for whatever reasons. And then they start
Sure.
saying, let's do, this is, you want to talk about a killer of innovation, let's do a survey. Right?
Okay.
That's what happens.
Okay. Yes.
Let's do a survey where maybe if we're lucky, 1,500 people will respond. And depending upon how the question is created, you're going to be leading them one way or another. Or you saying, we've vetted this, we've talked to the subcommittees, we've talked to the presidential advisory groups, we got all the information we need, we're the elected people, we're going to make the decision right now in this room.
It never hurts to get outside opinions. It never hurts. I feel it adds value because something might be brought to us that no one even thought of. So it never hurts to me to have other people's opinions. Again, it depends on the topic. And when you're talking about, agents' money, it's always the big hot topic. When you're talking about board funds, when you're talking about allocation, it's always a big topic. So depending on, of course, with this situation, I don't see the problem. Obviously, working hand in hand with MLS, seeing who they went and spoke to, maybe bringing them in, to talk and hear what they have to say. I just feel like it's always good to hear everything first, if we can, then make the decision, because then we know, okay, we gave these people opportunity, we gave those people an opportunity, we've heard the left, we've heard the right, we've heard the up and down, just throwing that in there. And then we're able to come to a decision that we can all stand together and say, hey, at least we did our part, and this is why we decided this way for those that will ask, because you can't please everyone. Some people are going to agree, some people are not going to agree. It is what it is. But as long as we know that we did our part, I'm fine with that.
Beautiful. Christina, Keith, Ellie, Randy.
I agree with Stephanie. I always feel like it would be advantageous for us to seek the opinions of our membership. That doesn't always mean that we're going to make decisions based on, the 1,500 of the 13,000 that did voice their opinions, because the rest failed to, for whatever reason. But I think that the more important step in that is, because I do believe that the elected officials, the elected people that are in that boardroom are making decisions based on, I'd like to say, the betterment of the membership, but it's the communication afterwards that we keep talking about, the transparency. Why did we make these decisions? And it shouldn't be, although, yeah, it would be ideal if you have a question and you don't understand that you come and talk to us. But and I'm not in the boardroom yet, so I haven't seen it, but I think the fear that for me, it feels like, well, I can go and ask the questions, but are they even going to answer it, because their lips are tied and they're not supposed to talk about what happens in the boardroom. And so there's all this, now we're making up reasons of why we think decisions were made, instead of the board just being transparent to the members with follow-up. Okay, this is the survey that went out. These are the questions that were asked. These were the decisions that were made. And these are the reasons why we made that decision, of why we feel it would be best in the for the membership. And so if there's more communication about the process, not just, this motion was brought to the table, we made a decision, and you guys are living with it because we know what's best and we're doing what's best for the members. There has to be more conversation about it.
I agree. I talked about context so often. What would happen is we would battle for months over something and finally get it passed. And then the communication, getting it out, would fall so flat and then we disappeared. And that was kind of almost like a waste of, rather than communicating why we did it, what the pros and cons are, and here's the result. So I think makes so much sense. Who is next? Keith, Ellie, Randy?
So one of the things that I want to look at as a director is the board of directors gets the agenda, what, week to 10 days prior to the meeting. So they know what is on the agenda. You don't wait until you get into the board of directors to start looking at the issue. As a director, it is our responsibility to start looking at that when we get it. If we have to go out and talk to the members, talk to other brokers, that's what we need to do. We need to start putting together the information so that when we get into the board of directors room, we have some intelligence on the questions that are being asked. Walk into the board of directors with an open mind, hoping that the other directors have also done some research and can at the time speak intelligently on the issue. That's when the debate and what the issues, you start talking and these things come out to where you can make an intelligent decision. If we don't have all the information, when we walk into that boardroom, we need to table that issue and then come back at a later date and get that. But it's the responsibility of the director to get that information, make that intelligent decision. I walk in, I'm ready to vote on the motion, but I also have behind me all of the statistics that I need. I've talked to other individuals, and waiting to get in there is when all of the chaos begins to happen. And that's what we need to stop.
Thanks, Keith. And before we get to you, Ellie, and then Randy, let's stack the part that I think Christina brought up and my father brought up before, is how does this also play into the transparency of continuing on the C-SPAN type meetings structure that we're having, where every single thing is like this and you can watch everything and see how people vote. I mean, is that plays in to an extent? Are you for that? So the two questions with that, Ellie.
Okay, yeah, I'm all for that, by the way. And I agree with everybody. I don't always, but on this I have to. There's a lot of realtors that are not what I would call as active as some of us may be on the board and in our community, but they're very active in the field and they have an opinion, they have good, and we need to hear from them. We need to get the word out from them. We need to get this back to the board because that's who runs this thing. And I don't know if you take an opinion poll, how we do it, but it has to be done because there's too many of us out there that are active in this business, have been through the ups and downs. We know what we need, we know what we want, and we have to get that from them. But we're all pretty much on the same page, I think, on this.
Randy.
I'm going to be pretty transparent on this. You know, being a director and going through that experience and continuing that experience has made me feel a little different than I expected. I think that sometimes there's some hostility against directors from the members because they think the directors is just one group of people that makes decisions. But I think there's a communication that goes out or a process like Christina had shared that we can share so that they understand we are you, we're helping you. Now, sometimes decisions have to be made on the spot because they have to be made within a timeline, in a timely manner. And what a lot of people don't see is that we meet once a week, once a month to make decisions. And sometimes it rolls over to the next month, and now 3 months go by and we miss the target completely. And so within that 1 month time period, there needs to be something, some kind of system that we can be transparent, get these surveys, give them the bullet points and the goods and bads of what we've done, and then gain their support. And then have them buy into like, this idea is also your baby, you're involved, we want your feedback, you know, starting with the transparency and the directors and open it up to our members. I felt very controversial on that because when I went in as a director, I was taught we stand with one voice and with one answer, you know, and to be honest, there's a lot of different viewpoints and we don't all vote on the same way. In fact, there's a lot of pretty evenly split votes, but without being in that boardroom, now I see people don't see that. And so I think that the consumers, I mean, not the, our members, us, if they can see the difference in opinions and the reasons why, I think that they'll buy in that, because it's true that we are you and there's different opinions. And this isn't one hidden agenda. This is on behalf of all of us coming from different viewpoints. So I think opening up that boardroom was a great idea because it kind of takes that away, and it kind of takes away the that border between being a director and being a member, because we are you guys. We're practicing on an everyday level, everyone on the screen in different ways. But yeah, I'm all for creating that system, sharing it, and having the members buy into the big decisions and why.
You know, I think transparency sometimes is the wrong word. It's honesty and vulnerability. You know, I don't want to toot my own horn on my father's, but Brandon can probably attest for this. We had a lot of unanimous decisions on our board during my year on some really hairy topics. And my dad kind of set the table, the long conversations of being honest and getting all the issues out on the table. You work your way to a consensus where you don't have to worry about one voice as much, because the obvious answer becomes there. And I think if you work that process out in front of people, active members who want to see, then you got a real chance to connect and give them a reason to be a part of it, right? So I want to ask you guys a question, continuing on about this. One of the biggest frustrations I had when I was on the board is sometimes I felt like the lowest common denominator of the member directed the association. And I don't mean that in a mean way, but what's our ideal member and who is our ideal client? You know, owners of Urban Nest, Brandon with Signature, like it's tough to be everything for everyone. You have to set a standard and hopefully people will rise to it. So that was kind of continuing on my question. I think Brandon, you had your hand up. You know, how do you be the membership that you want people to strive towards, or you meet them at every which way, because it's very hard to do both?
So it's interesting because I know you deal with this on a daily basis too, running your company, because you've got agents of all different skill level and different commitment levels to the industry. But I think you strive to be the best you can be, and you have people strive to be better. And the reason I think we struggle with professionalism in our industry is because we cater to that bottom line too much. This is a tremendous industry. Everybody has the same opportunities to come in and succeed. And I think you just need to provide the tools and stuff for everybody to get better. That's what an association should be for.
So lead from the top and lead to what you can be.
Yes.
Red, did you have your hand up? No?
I did. I had it up earlier. I actually wanted to touch on a little bit about what Randy said and the communication and the misconception that the members have when it comes to what the directors do inside the boardroom. And Brandon actually said this in another meeting where when it comes to the communication and getting information back to the membership, where we have to focus really is getting brokers more involved and more engaged, because that's really where the information is going to come from, right? If we can't get our own brokers involved and caring about the association and what we're doing, then how can we get the rest of the membership involved, right? And so that's number one. And the other thing about how decisions are made in the boardroom, you know, I've sat in that boardroom too, and I can tell you that sometimes what you see in the interviews and in the meetings when people are campaigning is not what they're doing inside the boardroom. They're not voting the way that they say that they're going to vote. And so you sit in that boardroom, and this is why people lose faith in the director sometimes, right? Because they don't see what is really happening, and they don't do their due diligence when electing the members. So I think that the Zoom meetings this year have been fantastic, because I'll tell you that what I've seen in the Zoom meetings versus what I've seen in the boardrooms before it was on video are like two different, it's like night and day, right, of what's happening in there. And even though you might still see a little bit of the whatever it is that you're seeing, it's night and day. And I think that when it comes to transparency in the boardroom, and members want to be able to trust the directors and how we're coming to these decisions and making those decisions, I let the membership see what's happening, so that you're putting these you're making them accountable for the votes and the decisions that they're making for the membership, as opposed to sitting behind a closed door where they're voting a certain way and then they want to walk out of that door and not be held accountable for the decision that was made behind a closed door.
Zoom has such a way of exposing who you really are. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I see hands popping up all around. I do want to get, I'm not going to say this is a softball, but because this is very important. I've always felt like leadership training should be almost required to be on the board of directors. All of you sitting here or standing here have had some form of where you're president of something or a leader of a company or something. Do you believe leadership training is required? And how has your position of leadership helped you be prepared to be on a board of directors? I'm gonna start with you, Ms. Chipman, being the current 2020 WCR president.
Yeah, I will definitely say, in addition to my current term as the president of Women's Council, I also completed the Nevada State Leadership Academy in 2018, I believe. And I would wholeheartedly support that requirement for future. I mean, I hate to put more restrictions on who's allowed and who can come into the room. But just knowing myself, what I have learned in the course of the last couple of years through that Nevada leadership program about myself and how to be a better leader, how to work better with those around me, and to shut my mouth more and listen more I mean, I'm 40 years old right now. I have 3 kids that I successfully raised, and there's stuff I learned in those classes and in this last year with Women's Council that I don't think I would have ever experienced or maybe have learned otherwise. So I don't know how much I can say I want to support a requirement, because like I said, I don't like to make the restrictions of new people who want to get involved, make it harder for them, but maybe strongly encourage. You want to be on the board? Maybe this is something we do in, with it. Maybe instead of it being a year-long state leadership, maybe it's a month-long leadership training that you go through as you're entering into the boardroom. I don't know what that looks like, but I would be in favor of it, just because I know for myself, the growth opportunity there is beyond measure.
And we say to be on the board of directors, you have to have 24 months or 12 months, I forgot, on a committee. But one of the best ways to learn is being a chair of a committee, right, as well. So that's kind of part of the game. And you were chair of the community outreach. Brandon, I mean, you've pretty much held all these positions. How important do you think this is?
So I'm with Christina on that. I think it should be strongly recommended. I don't know if you make that a criteria, but I do like some kind of training to go into it. I too served as Women's Council president in 2013, and also went through leadership in 2013 with the state, and they were priceless. And I think if you really want to get into leadership, you should want to take these steps anyway.
And I'm going to take a moment just to give you an extra plug, Brandon. It is highly beneficial for a president of the association, not required, but beneficial for someone who is running a company. You don't see a lot of owners of real estate companies do this because it's difficult to do both at the same time. But what I think my father and I have seen when we did it is you're able to get the perspective of being able to understand how you run the company is also how you run the association. And I think that is a distinction between, without any negativity whatsoever, a distinction between you and your opponent, right? The fact that you are actually you're running a 500 agent corporation versus a 15,000 agent corporation. So I think that's super important. Shane, I'm going to pop down to you. I haven't heard you talk in a minute. I know you were president of ARIA, right? So you got 2 years in a row?
1 year.
1 year. And
yes.
So you got, and plus you own your own company as well, correct?
Right.
So
So I am very fortunate to be president of ARIA 2018 and being my broker here for the last 14 years for my business. It's important to have that experience because it allows me to be a very good listener, and it allows me to learn how to pick who is on my team, who's not. And it also allows me to build the courage to kick somebody out when they don't belong on that board. So with the years of being a leader of ARIA, I came in as a very small mouse. And when they finished, I became like a giant lion because it gives me that confidence and the self-belief to go to the next level. Without that experience in ARIA, I would not be standing here or sitting here talking right here. I just didn't have the confidence, didn't have the knowledge, didn't have to know how to run a board and how the board is being ran, how votes and how different opinions and at times challenges of disagreements that can be very difficult. It gets out of hand, and your job as the president tries to make sure everybody's calmed down and everybody sit there and listen. So that experience helped me a lot. I did not go through the leadership. I wish I did. And I strongly advise, I mean, I believe that we should have some sort of criteria, requirement to go through that leadership training. I think it's important.
even if it's your first year on the board, now you're on, go do it. I mean,
Right.
and not to take away from, if you only run your real estate team, you're running a fully independent entrepreneurial business. So obviously, you know, Ellie and Stephanie, you guys are successful, great realtors. You're getting that experience as well. Randy, you have your own company. Keith, you've had every single position known to man, from owner to you name it. You read WCR president, broker. So that is one of the unintended, I guess, reasons why we're also supporting all of you, because you actually walk the walk, which in 2020 is much more rare than it should be, because anyone can talk. Randy, yes.
So so I went to Nevada leadership just like a lot of you guys. Without that, I wouldn't be here. And, you know, I truly, truly believe that all these trainings chips away at helping you, of course, becoming a better leader, but dictatorships don't work here. So it's not just being a leader, but it's having the courage to do the right thing or what you believe in. And at the same time, not pleasing everybody, but explaining where you're coming from and have them support your decision, whether they like it or not, because you're standing for the right cause. And you know that finesse, I think, takes a lot of training and experience, especially when you're going against the grain. It takes courage to be a leader, you know. And there's a lot of leaders on this group who go against the grain one time or another. I've seen it personally, and then swing the ship around because of a point that they made, and it made sense for our industry. And so it's these programs that allowed us to think that way, outside the box, be a little more strategic, and have everyone support the decision that's made versus this is what we're doing, because that doesn't work. We've already established that. And in the end, leaders create leaders. And it's leaders who have pulled us in here. I believe that. And it's certainly true for myself. Dave, you've thrown me into a couple committees and
Yeah.
and different things. You know, I call it a friendly nudge. But without those friendly nudges from other leaders, we don't have new leaders. And I was told in YPN, if we're still here when we're OPN, then we haven't done the right thing because we need to bring new leaders in. So anyways, I believe that it's super important, maybe not mandatory, but when we're voting, I think you should dig really deep into figuring out who has that skill set. And I believe everyone on the screen does.
All right, I'm gonna jump to Stephanie. I'm gonna set her up. I mean, Stephanie, look up at the Hollywood Square of Brandon, because from what I understand, from what I heard on the board, you had very similar. You know, Brandon, when he was on my board, would wait. I don't know if he did it strategically or it's just his mannerism. And then when he talked, because he wasn't one of the ones yelling all over the place, everyone would listen because he would wait. And from what I hear, Stephanie, when your voice carries a powerful message because you let everything kind of go and then you give your opinion. So let's hear what you think about this different way of leadership, because you need multiple different personalities on a great board.
Coming to you live with the island breeze. That's what I do. It's all about, no chaos, no drama for me. There's no need for it, right? So obviously I have to do a plug. Yes, I did graduate from the best state leadership academy 2019. We had an awesome, break. I know, but I have to throw that plug in there. But again, I agree definitely to have leadership experience. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, through the Nevada Realtor. It could be with the chamber. They have some amazing leadership programs out there in Las Vegas and in Nevada. Any type of leadership. We're here to lead others. We need to have that experience as well. Now, for me, it was very eye-opening for me last year in the Leadership Academy, because I didn't understand why I thought and think and led the way I do until I took a personality test was given to us, and to realize that it was okay. I am the one that will save a lot of my word banks. That's just how it's been. I will sit and let other people, hash it out and talk it out and want to repeat themselves 10 times, whatever. Then I will say my piece and I'm done. Especially if something hasn't been said, I will say what I have to say and I'm done. Some people will think, oh, well, Steph's not, she's just not engaged. No, trust me. I'm doing less talking and more listening. So I'm listening to what everybody's saying. I'm listening to what's going on in the room. And then, of course, I'll speak my piece. I'll put my hand up, and, our current president, Mr. Tom, be like, Steph has something to say. Stephanie has something to say, and I'll say what I have to say and move on. I mean, I don't, that's just how I am. That's how my style is. And there's no need to yell and scream and argue. I don't. Again, it's all about that, just coming together, getting what we need to get done, and move on with our lives. So that's it for me.
All right, beautiful. I got like 5 people texting me saying, ask this. But Azim's going to yell at me and not give me the bourbon that I require from him if I don't ask if you're all major investors or just where you're at. You could do speed round.
Absolutely. And I'm a 2010 inductee to the National Association of Realtors, RPAC Hall of Fame. And both my wife and I and our son, we're all major investors, President Circle. So we've been supporting that. And that's one of the most important parts, I believe, in being a leader, is that you have to put yourself out there and invest in your business, because that's what this is an investment.
Christina, you're a major investor, correct?
Yes, sir, I am. I started as a 10 for 10 pledge through YPN. The following year, I went major investor Sterling Silver, and I am currently President Circle.
Beautiful.
I'm a major investor.
Major investor, yeah.
Okay. You're anyone
I'm
else?
a major investor, and I'm also on the PSF fundraiser, very passionate about it.
Golden
Right,
hour, fully
you
paid.
are. You read? Okay. So
Yep.
what I always like to say, because they sometimes they say the R for Realtor stands for Republican, and that's not the truth. They're very bipartisan group. And I say, well, your investment is going to be 100% towards your business and at least 50% towards your heart. So it's definitely worth putting the money in. Okay.
So Dave, with that, I want everyone to understand that I'm on the PAC. I'm a trustee, and we look at the candidates, and it's 51-49. When it comes to that, we look at who's protecting our private property rights and helping our clients. And it's 51% that we back of Democrats, not Republicans. The R does not stand for Republican. It stands for Realtors. This is who we are.
All right, quick parting shot. Either your favorite quote or just your closing remark, please. Let's keep it concise. Let's start with Shane.
I was told that no matter what you're given an opportunity to do, as long as you do your best, 100% do your best, you cannot go any wrong. And I want everybody to know that I will do my very best if I get elected.
Thank you, Shane. Stephanie.
Thank you again for this opportunity. Again, running for re-election for 2021, and ask for your support. I will continue to push the Realtor brand, leadership, professionalism, diversity. It's all needed. And I look forward to a new year under Aldo. And again, congratulations to all those that have stepped up to run and jump into this race. It is exciting to see the amount of participation out there, and I wish everyone luck. Thank you so much, Dave and David, for this platform.
Ellie.
Well, I tell you, the reason I came on here was because I sat through a few of the transparent meetings and I saw what can be done. And I'm going to bring a lot of positive energy and passion to the board. And I hope that you can all rally behind me and vote for me. And I'm just thrilled and honored to be a part of this entire group. And Dave, thanks for having me. I thank both the Daves, all the Daves, every Dave out there. Thank you.
Dave, you're going to have to share in the expenses if you're going to get any credit here. You're right.
I want to say one of my favorite quotes is, "Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in getting up every time that we do." So to me, sometimes things may not be going our direction, but we just have to keep going and remembering that we need to learn from our mistakes, and we grow from there. And I believe in growth, and vote for your red for treasurer 2021.
And that's a no doubt, because those are, the head-to-head ones. Everyone vote for your red. Randy.
I'd like to close with saying, help me, help you. I'm not here for me. I'm here for us. And let's stay ahead of change.
Love it. Little Jerry Maguire. Help me, help you. Keith Kelly.
So yeah, I'm one of those OPNs that was mentioned. I've been there before, but I still have a lot to offer. I know leadership. I think that we need to open this a little more. Let's give our members the platform to join a committee, to become a vice chair, to learn how to put together an agenda, to do this. That's why we're here, is to bring up new leaders behind us. And I think there's lots of opportunity, and I want to do that. I'm asking for your vote and for your support. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Brandon.
So thank you guys for having us on here for sure. And one of the great things that came out of the board through my years was the relationship that I have with you and your father. Probably would have never had that if it wasn't for serving together on the board, being competitors and stuff like that. But I never look at it like you guys are competitors. I look at it, we're in the same industry, which is pretty cool. I would leave you with probably my new favorite quote by the great Randy Hatata: "Dictatorships don't work here." So vote for me for president-elect. Thank you.
I like that.
And just to make it clear, that is one of the best ancillary parts of being on the board, and that's the relationships you get. And my father and I have been telling Brandon, it's going to be a pain in the ass, but you must run. You are the one that should do it. And the fact that, he isn't an egomaniac, and that's the best type of leaders that care. And Brandon is, from being a past president, I can tell you unequivocally that he is completely has all the skills to be a great president. So vote for Brandon. And then save the best for last. The only required, well, the most required vote that you must make is for Miss Christina Chipman.
I will take that shameless plug from Urban S. Thank you so much. I will end this for me with that. Anybody who knows me or follows me knows that I have a great passion and a deep desire to serve. And this is really just my way of serving in this piece of the pie in my life. This is a voluntary job. We've all talked about this. It's not easy. Actually, more often than not, it's going to be hard and it's going to be dirty and ugly and all those other things. So why do I want to do it? Because it's what feels right to me. I've been a server. I joke around all the time, and I kid you not. I'm that doting, I run a business, I take care of children, and I still make plates for my significant other at dinner time because that is who I am deep inside. I like to serve. And this is just my way of giving back to this piece of the pie, which is my career, my business, my passion. I want to serve the members and I want to serve our industry. So I look forward to your support.
Thank you. I'm hoping, I think it cut off right when you finished. Is it still on?
It's still on. We're still live.
All right, because I pay $60 a month for Zoom, so I shouldn't be ever cut off of the Zoom. All right. Parting shot. I do want Georgia, Dave, and my father to say something as well.
So for me, I don't necessarily have any questions. I've just got a comment / more of a request. I've sat in leadership positions. I know how difficult it can be. And I ask each of you, try not to wear every cape. Yes, I know you feel like you're swooping in to save and make things better. Some of the best leaders I've had the opportunity to work with know exactly when to take the cape off and fit it to somebody else's shoulders for a better fit. And that is probably one of the best advice I've ever gotten and what I would like to offer to you. And the other is keep fighting for the transparency. I know we've been given a little bit of a taste, but unfortunately, I feel like we've only been giving the appearance of transparency. Fight for the members to see as much of the behind the scenes as you can. I've been behind the curtain. I know behind the curtain lasts more than the 45 minutes that we get to see. So please, please, please fight for us, to engage us, to be part of those live meetings. Zoom has changed the world. Even when you get to go back into live meetings, there still can be Zoom. So that's what I'm going to ask in my request to all of you. For those of you that get the opportunity to serve at the board level, whether it's this year, next year, or any other board, I really appreciate all of you.
Thanks, Georgia. Dave, don't admit anything. Is that what you're going to say? Or don't call your attorney first? Or
I was going to tell them that the Attorney General has actually issued a letter explaining exactly what the obligations of participating in a not-for-profit board of directors is. This is actually set up in statute. You have a statutory obligation to act in the best interests of the membership, period. And now I'm scared. Failure to do that can be considered both civil and potentially even criminal activities. And there have been times where the Attorney General has sued nonprofits who did not act in the best interests of their membership. So you want a clear obligation of what you're walking yourself into. You have an obligation to do what's best for your fellow realtors, which frankly, by being here today, you've already demonstrated.
Way to put it in a perspective, Dave.
hey, I didn't know you wore your dream killer shoes today, as usual. I mean, I didn't know you got them out of the closet.
They're a little rusty.
My God.
Getting flashbacks, Dave. Getting flashbacks.
My parting statement would be the reason that all of you are on today, that were picked by us, is because do not vote because you're voting in a group. Vote for what you think is right. Do not make alliances that make you go in that boardroom and vote because you have to. Vote for Brandon and Yared on the executive because they're not aligned. They're free thinkers that they're going to vote what's right for us as members. And for these 6 people that we have chose for board of directors, They are here because they are free thinkers that are going to vote for what they believe is right for the membership. In this year, it's very important because if you don't vote these members in, next year, you may be having members that vote in a group and truly will never get what is right heard. So be careful. It's a very important election. We have never done this before where people vote in a group and then let things not pass. On my board, on Dave's board, everyone, sometimes they voted with what we thought was right or against, but they were free thinkers. And that's all I'm asking you to vote for. Free, independent thinkers that are going to vote for what is they feel through the facts is best for you.
And lastly, I'm just going to leave you with this. I live by what's on my wall right here, and that's the man in the arena. And you guys as leaders, you must remember, it's not the critic who counts. It's the woman or the man who actually is in the arena doing the work. And that's what all of you have signed up for. And I commend you for stepping up and putting yourself on the line when so few do. So thank you for that. And thank you for being a part of this. And if you need anything, my father, myself, George, we're always here for you. So I'll put my suit back on to come in and free consultation whenever you need. All right. Good luck to all of you. Thanks for putting in the time. Thanks for everyone watching. And make sure you vote. Make sure you have your voice heard, both in this election and the one in November. Take care.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Everybody.